Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the, how do I want to say this, RD, from the Great Midwest is joining me tonight.
The
The
Pines.
Vault Tech, the Pine Hills Palace
But
Vault Tech studio here just west of Orlando, Florida, soon to be nuclear bombed. Why is that? Because we're continuing our coverage of the TV show Fallout, Season 2, Episode 1. The Innovator, in quotes, or something else there too. Because, RDB, I got to tell you, I'm watching this show as a fan of the Fallout franchise, as a gamer going back to the
yes,
70s and the 80s. And I'm watching it in spite of the stuff they keep shoving into my face. Because at the end of the day, I'll say this, and we've mentioned this about our Tulsa King reviews. I want to know what this show is supposed to be. It's supposed to be kind of like a little quirky and off-putting and goofy. If so, make it that. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of DI and wokeness in here. It's pretty much the Amazon treatment all over again.
it's
And I just want to sit here and say that despite that, once in a while there's a scene or two that makes me go, it almost does feel like the Fallout game, but I just don't want to sound too romantic about it or whatever here too. But this episode here, I think the show fails initially because it's been a while since the first season. They don't give you a recap. I don't
no.
rewatch stuff for a recap. It's really all over the kind of place here.
You
And
do
nothing
get a
seems to
short
happen.
recap in the beginning, though.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, just enough.
What's your take on this episode starting off?
Starting off, I said we're kind of slowly reintroducing the characters. Get that short little recap. We get to see Purnell, Luzzi, and well, first we don't see her at first. We see they're in the small little backwards lot, where we used to be a grocery store. Apparently, that's what Walter Goggins' character says.
The ghoul.
The ghoul, as they call him, ghoul. But his actual name is Harry, isn't it? No, actually, no, it's not Harry. It was, I forgot what it was. He actually said his name was. 1 second. I think
While you're looking that up, though, let me
actually, no, it's right there. What am I thinking? It's Cooper. It's right on the side of, yeah, there. So Cooper is about to go get hanged, and he clearly, this is a setup, a cliche we've seen before, where he's like, okay, all right, I think I'm about ready now. And he says it 3 times, and she stands like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to shoot anybody. She stands up there. She's got the rifle, and he's like, are you freaking kidding? He's sitting there, and then like, so she's like, well, plan C. How about you guys just let us go? We've been our way, and I don't want to kill anybody. And he's like, fucking stupid bitch. And they drop the guy. So you got him, Walter Goggins hanging by his neck, with chain, barbed wire and stuff. Like, basically, it's a telephone pole with chain on it, barbed wire, and he's hanging there. And she's like, and I'm like, just start shooting people. What are you doing here? So they say they're like it. And so the guy says, well, the first person that kills that bitch, whatever. And so she shoots the chain that's around the ghoul's neck, and then she starts shooting the guys in the leg and the ass and stuff. And of course, this leads to him. Basically, he has to save the day because he's the brawn. She's basically the prissy girl who doesn't want to get her hands dirty. And it's very much like an odd couple, kind of like that. So he saves the day, and at the end, they're walking to New Vegas. They're following her dad's trail. I love this because he calls her. He's like, eventually you're gonna have to dislearn all that fake knowledge they taught you in that vault, all that cult crap. It's like it's kill or be killed in this,
Yeah, make no mistake. One of the clear, obvious things, if it isn't by anybody now, whether you're a fan of the games themselves, and you say, well, they're just retconning some stuff and doing what they want, which I believe that they are in here.
Yeah.
It's the Walter Goggins show. Now, I think this lead actress, I think she's perfectly cast. She looks great.
Being a naive girl,
looks innocent.
Yes.
She doesn't piss me off. She's supposed to have some of that dim-witted ignorance being locked in the vault, and it works for that kind of quirkiness that you find out from the Fallout games. On the other level to it, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on that the powers that be make these things come up, and the whole faction thing we saw a little bit of in season 1, I just think fell flat. Let me ask you this. Even though this can be a very rich world and they're spending a lot of time building it, and they even start the episode off with, some stuff with this new character. It looks like he's going to be the bad guy this season. Do you really remember much about all the other side characters and factions? To me, in season 1, that was a bit of too much
because
and not that memorable.
I do, because when she left the vault, where she's originally from Vault 33, where people, which this led to people coming down into her vault and they're raiding them, and basically, well, there's a big old fight and everything, and then we have people. The one girl, she loses her eye, and she's pregnant at that point. That was
there's some really weird stuff like that, which is great.
But I also remember the whole plot is that his wife, Walter Goggins' wife, was involved with the whole Vault Tech thing, and there was the girl who we see at the very end of the season. Turns out to be she was a friend of Lucy's mother, so so there's a lot of stuff that's coming back as you watch the episode, but there's a lot of stuff that didn't really need to be put in there.
Agreed.
Especially the stuff with Reg, and he's like, I can help, and he knocks stuff over, and he gets yelled by what's her name? I forget. She's basically the old Betty. Betty is Betty Pearson. She's the one in charge now. Vault 32, and then Vault 33 is staff is promoted there because they're all part of the corporation, the Vault that thing. Betty was part. If you remember the first season, she was hanging out with Harry, and pretty much she's in the knowledge. She knows what needs to be done for the better purpose. She's a Vault Tech person, plant. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but there's also a lot of nonsense in there. Now I don't really have the problem with the women being in charge because this is a fake society. A lot of these people were programmed to doing things. They really don't have much free will. What I've actually, the breakout character I've been liking was Hank Jr., the one that's locked inside Vault 33, or was it 30? Yeah, 33. Because or was it 31? Anyways, he's locked in one of them, and pretty much he's in there with Bub, who was the guy who's in charge of doing everything else, the help work at the Vault Tech, and Hank's in there about to die, and he's like either get in your dad's cryopod and wait till the surface is or no one's done in there, and then we'll let you go out, or I kill you here and here. So he chooses option 3, and he decides he's gonna basically wake all the corporate executives out and up, the ones that are supposed to be brought back when the surface was dead, so they could rebuild. So he's going to add a lot of chaos to this. But yeah, there's the one thing I'm thankful though that we don't have in here, which made the episode for me a lot better, is I don't have Maximus in this episode. I cannot stand Maximus.
What is it about Maximus that you don't like?
He's the Ray Fisher. If you remember watching the new Star Wars trilogy,
no.
It was the guy who originally they were going to have him be a Jedi, but instead it turns out to be Ray instead.
Yeah.
And he just became like a whiny kind of side character. So in the last episode, or last season,
channel heat, bro.
And so Maximus in the last season was the guy who basically wanted to be one of the Brotherhoods of Steel and stuff, but he was a squire, and basically he got sick and tired of being overlooked. So eventually just kills the guy and steals his armor and pretends to be a knight. His whole character was stupid. I didn't like him.
I'm glad I'm not seeing him because he was so horrible. And here's the problem I have with the storytelling that you're bringing up here is that, like, if you're going to have an adult theme like that, because I think that's actually incredible. The guy's a complete pussy. He does it like, fuck yeah, that's pretty hardcore. That's very adult-like. Yeah. And even though the show's extremely expensive, the shitty CGI and the way shows are filmed today, especially Amazon ones, they have this really like poor look to them that's kind of goofy, almost like Evil Dead-ish in a way, like kind of goofy, but I'm not trying to insult Evil Dead. And to me, I think that should be the tone of the show. It should be a little bit lighthearted and over the top with goofy kind of violence. But they're trying to make this thing kind of like a futuristic Westworld wherever, except for we have robots that are doing all this faction stuff. And it still comes down to the fact that I really pretty much just want to see the Ghoul story. I still know what I'm invested in emotionally. She's not a bad sidekick. And Dogmeat, while I love them, they haven't done much with them. I think they don't know what to do with them. I feel like the show is just kind of like, we've taken the chains off of it, and like, go do something. And it's not doing anything.
For an intro, for this first episode, and we talked about this a little bit offline, like I said, nothing really much happens. A little things, it's kind of world building, I guess, at this point still in this episode, but nothing really like exciting happens in this where it's like, oh my god, and I can't believe they did that. No. If anything, there's kind of reintroduction to the characters because, like you said, in case you forgot, it's been a year. I think it was, it was 2024. I think it was like around October. So it's been a whole entire year since we last watched this. Also, I want to point out real quickly though, I do love the fact that there's 3 different story types you could be here. Like there always is in a lot of games. There's the girl who's the naive, she's the Vulk kid, doesn't know anything. You have the kid over on the right, played by Maximus, who pretty much is the other type where you're a squire and you're doing whatever you can. You're selfish, all about yourself. It's all about me. Where Lucy's all about everyone else. And then you have the other guy who doesn't give a shit. He doesn't want to find his family. He's more like the Fallout New Vegas, Las Vegas, where he just wants to find what happened to his wife or his kid. He's like, because if you play the game, spoilers, your spouse dies, but you're looking for your kid because there's rumors that your kid might be alive. So that's kind of what the Ghoul character is, Walter Goggins' character is. And that's why we're so drawn more to him than we are to Lucy. Lucy is not a bad character. I just think that she just frustrates me because how overly nice she is. But then again, that's her character type. But it does work well. What doesn't work well is throwing Maximus in here and her somehow being attracted to Maximus.
Well, it's completely forced all the way.
There's no chemistry whatsoever.
Absolutely agree with you.
No. He just looks like a nerd, and that's it. But getting back to the episode, not really much happens in here. We're introduced to characters, like I said. I don't really care what's going on in Vault 32 and 33. 31, where Hank is trapped. That's more intriguing because he has the power to change things, and he does by releasing all the executives early from their cryosleep. So that's going to cause a lot of chaos as it is.
We get that side plot too about them looking at the logistics of their supplies, and now that's forcing them into action. Because remember, these are people that really don't know what they need to be doing. They lack like a certain drive, I guess, is the way to put it.
They lost people who actually knew how to work on things died in that raid. That was led by not Hank's. It was Hank's. The lady from Hank that was basically Hank's wife. Kate Williams, she's the one that was in charge of the rebels that went in there and killed everybody, pretty much. And she pops up in this episode too as well in the flashbacks. She's the one that's connected to Walter Goggins' character, Cooper. She's like, why don't you just spy on your wife? And then this episode, we saw him in the end of the last season. He was watching his wife. They had a secret bunker meeting, and he had a little earpiece that Kate gave him. He listened in, and then he sees his wife talk about, why don't we just solve this problem by launching the bomb ourselves? And we get to learn about the guy Robert Haas, who in Vegas is building a system where and so he's like, oh shit, my wife's involved. He's take his daughter. They're gonna flee, but he ends up meeting with Kate. Kate's like, no, go home, play nice. I want you to go. Your wife's going to Vegas. I want you to spy on this rich billionaire. Because she said, you being a celebrity, you have access to people that no one else has. You actually have a power, and he's like, I don't want to do it. I want to deal with this. He's like, well, she's like, at least your hands will be clean, when the bomb man drops, but overall, we also get introduced to this other guy, this season, who is, pretty much, what's the guy's name?
Look,
Mr. House.
What I'm about to say here, I give you credit for it because I think it's a flaw in that even though there's a lot of that you can fulfill in here, because a lot of them are characters we haven't spent a lot of time with, and even if they have 3 or 4 storylines, it's just jumbled together, and it makes you not remember their names or care for any of them. And that's the problem with after one season. Your focus should have been to kind of, I think, make us care about some of them, because the show's about the Ghoul. It's not about her, and it should be centered around her. And they have a good chemistry on here, but all these other things going together stalls any momentum that they may have. And it's like, okay, I get that you have somebody in this vault, that vault can do this and can do that, but with these flashbacks and everything else there, it's too convoluted, and it doesn't allow you to feel settled in where you can say, okay, let me see how things develop. I mean, You could have spent almost half of season 1 just being before the bombs get dropped, because that's the whole thing about the show, or the games in the show, is that who dropped the bombs? Was it the company that dropped the bombs, just for the rich people? Was it America? Was it the United States? Was it somebody else? Did somebody, kind of egg on somebody else? Kind of like we talk about, here in real world politics.
We don't know if they dropped the bomb or not. If they
Correct.
did. So in this show so far, we're being steered into that path, thinking that maybe they did. All we know is that they were preparing for it because it's all about against the Reds, the communists, and it's so. And as far as remembering characters' names, that's every show for me. If I haven't watched it a year, I don't remember. Hell, the Stranger Kids things. I watch all the seasons up until the last season. I don't fucking know their names. They're kids. That's all I know. But as far as this show goes, is like I do like the fact that we're getting the main villain here, getting a Hank is just turning into just like you're supposed to hate him, but like he's kind of like a suave guy. He gets, it's like
he has agency, sir. That's what you appreciate, because who else here is a dipshit for the most part.
Yeah. And the way he acts, because they're following him, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. This leads into a vault. I think it was vault 22, 24. That Hank gets stopped at first. So Walter Goggins' character Cooper and Lucy go into the vault, and basically, they're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" They find a red commie hat, and like, "Why would the Reds have a thing?" It's off the hat. They go in there, and they discover, well, if you remember from the beginning episode, there was a guy who had a device, and he was basically plugging this guy's neck, which he's kind of, this is Mr. House, and he's like, he basically was confronting, these guys in the bar. These guys are union workers. He was insulting them. He's like, I'll give you $1 million or whatever if you put this in the back of your neck. You're like, no. So he ends up putting this device in the guy's back of his neck, allows him to control the guy and make him kill his other friends.
Mm-hmm.
But the device starts malfunctioning.
Like upgrade, but not nearly as good.
But his device starts malfunctioning, so he turns up the volume and basically causes the guy's head explode. So when they're down in there, because that
was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Splat.
And so, yeah, and he's like, he bends down, picks up the device. He's like, okay, work in progress. We're back
but
to
that's funny.
No, yeah, I know. Like, yes, there are some funny bits in this thing, but that kind of paint over some of the other stuff. But yeah, Lucy and Cooper are in this vault 24 or 22, where it was, that's been open, and that's apparently they're following the track to where their dad was. He stopped in there. Like, why would he stop in there? So they go down there, and they're still having a conversation. Like, what do you think you're going to do to your dad? You're going to shoot him in the ass or the leg? He's like, I'm going to bring in the justice. Like, justice. Pathetic, It's like, he's like, I guess I'll be the one killing your dad, not you, because you're, But they go down there and they find all the experiments. Well, that's where Mr. House was working on some experiments. Remember the device to control people's neck? They come across a guy who's still alive in there. Apparently, his dad had grabbed one of the devices, put in the guy's back of the guy's neck, and told him, and then tell him, you need to go home, and then his head explodes. So we get 2 head poppers in this, and it's so there is some cool prop stuff in here.
Yes,
like, this show is visually appealing,
except for the CGI.
Yeah, I don't mind the
pieces and the walking around and all that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now you've look. I want to ask you this because I don't know if you reviewed on the Geeky Puppet Show, your channel, or if you've talked about it here on Xtreme.
We don't do TV shows. No.
Well, somebody told me that's a big fan of comics. He said, "Hey, it reminds me of The Boys."
Oh, so that was that. So the head poppers, I was going to bring it up. I haven't said it to you yet, but
okay.
This is if you watch The Boys, there was a woman who had a basic power. You could cause people's head explodes. And that's kind of when you see a head burst like that, it's also screamers.
Okay.
People's heads explode too.
Mm-hmm.
We also, if you watch
Scanners,
the Running Man, was it Scanners? Okay, Screamers, Scanners. At this point, it's the same thing to me.
Well, Scanners turns your stomach.
Yeah. But the Running Man, the bomb around the neck, head explodes, which is also which a lot of people got that also from Suicide Squad, which is the comic book before Running Man. So it said like the everyone copies everyone else, and everyone loves a good head exploding. I know. But it said overall, they said this episode was beautiful, but the plot was boring. I understand their show's setting it up for what's going to happen. We're going to learn, because this is very much like CW Arrow, where we learn everything through flashbacks, like it did with Oliver on Uncle Island. This is Cooper back, him in the flashbacks, learning about what's going on. Every show that's out right now has freaking flashbacks now. Monarch has flashbacks to when he's younger.
Oh, yeah. But Monarch does it pretty good. Even though the show is horrible, and I love some things about the show Monarch, and I'm a big fan of Godzilla and all the.
Yeah, the problem is, but
it's written by very young people, and it shows.
I'm gonna say just right now, the problem with Monarch, I don't give a shit about the future present stuff. I care about the flashbacks. With this show, I care more about the flashbacks.
It has to deal with relationships and real people and sincerity.
Yeah,
not angry people and forced people and all that stuff.
Arrow was like that too. I don't like it when what the flashback or the present is better than the flash or vice versa. I don't like that. That's the reason why I don't like putting flashbacks into episodes or TV shows.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'll get it out of the way as far as the woke stuff in it, because we don't really bitch about it and hate watching that sense. That's not the kind of channel we are. When you see very early on, I think it's the very first episode of season 1, episode 1, you see where he's got a mixed race kid and this and that, and all the guys are wimps and all the women run the show. Remember, this is supposed to go back to, like World War II kind of times and everything. Mm-hmm. That's the aesthetic of it. I know there's a little bit of humor supposed to be
1950s, actually.
Yeah, and I get it. Some people don't, rage against that time for whatever reason, especially younger people that are writers today. They don't understand the nuclear family idea and what it meant to America in the post-war boom, it seems like, or they do and just want to make fun of it. But if they had made us care about the characters and even the story of, hey, I got to watch my wife, or we're going undercover watching this, or wait a minute, what did I get myself into? Because remember, he's an actor that gets kind of roped into this.
Yeah, he's
trying to do good for his family. So it's like he never is the hero he gets to portray. And so maybe that's the guilt driving him today. And that's all this bullshit 2025 trauma nonsense. And even was it the guy's name? The evil guy in this season so far, it's Robert Hatch, is it, or something? The guy with the controller. You could have introduced him there. We could have seen, hey, I think this guy's going to be bad.
So I don't care if he had a white kid or white family or an Asian family. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't change the plot for me.
It's not that it changes the plot for me. Some people, I think, with the games would actually look at it and go, yeah, you're really changing it just to change it, which that being very obvious and early.
I'm just going to point out,
is
I've never played the games, so it doesn't affect me as much as people who play the games. Because
you're right.
And that's kind of, I get that, because that was a Halo TV show the Paramount did. That changed everything, and it bombed.
Well, we didn't even talk about in season 1 that often. I think they have a transgender character in it for one of that's supposed to be the only one that actually had any agency. They did it just to do it, and it's very obvious that what they're doing. Yeah. And it's like the show's good when you're not doing the messaging stuff and you're focusing on just the relationship that exists between Walter Goggins' character and the young woman. They have a chemistry together. And everything else is bullshit. It doesn't work. So they should understand that's their strength. But they're trying to do all these things to say, look at how great we're building the world up. Meanwhile, we're starting off season 2, and it's not even established yet.
Well, here's the thing, though. They're painting the women in the negative light, too. They're making them look like villains, because they are.
Well, they're in charge. Or do you think they're villains?
No, Betty and Steph are very evil characters. The way that Steph...
Or are they just misunderstood right now?
No, they're not misunderstood. They're literally evil characters, because when basically, remember, she was Betty was a problem in the first season, and then she's also was going against Hank, especially when Hank learned everything, and he learned that Betty would take turns with his father being revived and then going back on a cryo, and that's how they stayed in power, controlled everything. So she's hiding, Betty's still hiding secrets from everybody else in the vault they don't know about. And then she put Steph as her right-hand woman to control the other vault, to keep it in line, the corporate thing. And you said they're both evil characters, but I don't really need to watch them in this. If they left the series, I really wouldn't care about. I don't care about the Lucy's Vault. The only thing I cared about is Hank Jr. and Hank Sr. and then Lucy and the Ghoul. I don't need anybody else from the Vault there because they're gonna useless. They're fodder. They're cannon fodder. That's what they are, and that's what they were in the games too. And it's like, even if anybody survived, you're like, okay, NPC, see you later. Don't care about you. Get out of the way. Move.
Yeah, and another take to I think that's interesting is that, like, I think of, like, you're talking about not having these flashbacks because that's kind of like a convenient filler. But
not so much. I felt like there's so many in this episode.
There was. And it's distracting from the momentum that you're building, So I just keep thinking of when you play the games, basically you get like a little opening bit, which season 1 and 2 kind of put in the whole thing that happens and all that, the way they film it. That's part of one of the games, right? So I get it. But imagine if you just woke up in a vault and you walked out and saw the world for what it is. You started discovering stuff. You could either start season 1 off that way and it'd been a mystery for people that don't know the games or didn't play them. Or, like I say, you could have spent a lot of the season 1 establishing who these characters are and what they're doing. So then later on here in season 2, when you realize, oh, this lady's kind of evil. Well, she really was this way, and now she's this way here. You could have done it better as far as the seed play, where you actually care about watching them.
If you just had Lucy, never had anybody else in the vault. Her vault pretty much was compromised, and she's
malfunctioned. She came awake.
She's the one that survived. Yeah, just like in the game, you're the one person, and then she, like, having her later on discover the going back into another wall behind her vault of a bunch of cryo things,
or she stumbles out and her pip thing is beeping, and she doesn't know what. She stands outside, and then there's like an X on it, like a map, like where to go to.
She gets next to she's exploring this vault, and then all of a sudden, there's some kind of magnetic interference, and it's causing a glitch in her Pip-Boy. And she's looking at her map. There shouldn't be anything over there, and she finds a door. So,
what show that I thought this could have emulated in terms of the monster of the week sort of category, with just a few themes in it that you would slowly build and they could drag this out, would have been the first season of Witcher.
Yeah,
because remember when you meet the bard and he's singing, everybody remembers him. Everyone remembers him walking around with him, right?
Yeah.
When you see him going through a situation, it feels like a video game. Hey, you're going in here and have to cross the swamp and you're trying to save time, and then you run into a monster, but then it's tied to some lore with whatever. You could have done that in each of the episodes with one or two, let's say one of the factions that are there, so you would recognize some of the characters. So when you come back to it, you go, oh, this is like when we did that. Here, everything is just kind of rushed and forced. So here's what I'll say in my final thoughts. It's a bad show. I'm not hating on it. It's not visceral, but it's close. But there's a aesthetic to it that I do like, and there's some natural charisma with Goggins that I just go, man, I hope it can continue to deliver for me, because it's going to take a lot more for that to right some of the wrongs they've already done so far. And I want to like it. I'm a big fan of the games. Love Walter Goggins. I've seen him in many things. I think she's fine. I'm like you. This episode didn't do much for me.
Yeah. It's they could have done so much better with the episode, and just focuses more on like, I understand they wanted to show you what's going on, leads up to the big bad enemy reveal at the end of the season, because they're doing. And here's one thing I'll give the show props: they dropped the whole season drop thing, and now they're just doing one episode every Sunday or whatever day it is drops.
Oh yeah, weekly drop on it.
Weekly drop, which will help people remember more characters. People are invested in the show, they'll basically come back and watch it every week. Versus because this whole series dropped back in April. I was looking up April last year. It's been well over a year.
Let me interject this. Not that this is what it's about, but it made me think of something I think,
or at least
something you and I haven't talked about a lot here on Xtreme Movie Show, especially with television or movies for that matter. We all know recently Rob Reiner died. Doesn't matter why or what his politics are, or he was known for directing a lot of great films, honestly, only some of which we may have covered and probably still need to. But he was in a show called All in Family. It was really popular.
Meathead.
Yeah, he was Meathead, right? And of course, Archie Bunker, they tried making fun of, but everybody kind of loved him. But here's the thing. I watched some recent interviews of him, because I think some of his films are great, and I love hearing him talk about them. And someone asked him about All in the Family, and he goes, and he paints the picture for the reporter like this.
But what does that
He
do
says,
with
imagine at the time we had about 200 million people in the United States. He goes, we didn't have DVDs, VCRs, or any of that stuff at this point. All in the Family comes on, we'd have 40 to 50 million people watching it. So 40 to 50 million people across the United States are all watching the exact same episode at the exact same time. We're having a shared moment together. So then later on, they could talk about it, with each other, have some discussions or whatever like that. And then next week would be another episode. And I've mentioned this lightly before, but I thought he did a great job of explaining it, because you and I think are fans of the weekly drops because of this momentum, rather than just I'm gonna shit a bunch of episodes out so people can binge watch them. That's really not caring for, I think, for the craft of it. And
I'd say it would be better to drop it off, one episode per week, and then for the people who want to binge it, it'll just wait.
Sure.
Or
people go back and go, oh man, I've heard a lot about this stuff. Can I go back and watch it? Oh, 6 episodes have been released. Let me go ahead and start watching a couple of them. Absolutely. Because what a lot of people do, they know from Netflix or anybody drops, say, 10 episodes of a show, they'll watch the first 1 or 2, and then they'll be like, okay, I'm not into it. But even the people that drop them know, hey, we really got to capture them in that first episode or 2, so we're going to go over the top with the opening thing and this and that to keep their attention span, because we know it's short and they have other devices and all that kind of stuff. But I think if this show was written 20, 30, 40 years ago, it'd be 100 times better. And I could say a lot about TV and movies in general. But I think that's significant to go into weekly. I hope it works for them. But if the writing doesn't improve, you and I are going to have to check and see if there's a different writer each week or how that's working. Because right now, a lot of people that I talk to are like me. They want to like it. They're giving it some extra room to see what happens. But right now, they're not having a lot of hope, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I was looking up because the main bad guy in here reminds you of a villain from a video game.
Kind of looks like young Walt Disney.
Walt Disney.
Robert Hatch or whatever his name is, the bad guy.
The Elusive Man, that's what it was. If you played Mass Effect 3,
no.
There's Martin Sheen was the Elusive Man. He just come here. He had a nice gray suit like that where he could walk in, and he tried to make a deal with you and stuff. And you're like, I'll tell you, hey, this is what's going to happen. Either you side with me or you go against me, and because you only have 2 options. And I always loved how Martin Sheen was presented in that game. And I love what they're doing with MacLachlan here, basically having him at the end. He's like, he goes in the vault, takes his armor off, grabs his tie, suit, and then he's like, look at, stylish now. And then he goes over and he basically, he's like, oh, check my Pip-Boy out. You have over like 1 million different messages. Okay, well, I better start getting to it. So, and he leaves a message and an email over to Robert Haas. I think his name was a Haas. I can't remember. Yeah,
Hatch, I think maybe
Hatch. I can't remember what it was. Let me look it up. I think it was Robert Hatch. It was Robert House. Yes. Was it House? Robert House is Mr. House in the very beginning. The guy with the suit, the thing, the back of the neck.
Yep.
That's So he's the one that's in charge of New Las Vegas, or this basically this where they're going to, and so. I wonder if he's still around though.
Hell yeah!
Of course. You think he's going to be?
Yeah.
We having a Bub. Bub was a brain in a jar.
Yeah, which looked cool, but we've forgotten about it already.
I did.
That's my point.
I just brought it up.
Well, you did. I'm glad you did. But
he was in the episode.
He's one of those. See something like that, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that now. The point is you got to make it memorable, and putting too many things out there.
I think here's the difference between you and I. You need stuff. I don't need it. I just watch the episode, and either I enjoy it or I don't enjoy it. You need certain things to enjoy something. I don't really have that high of a bar, and that's just the way I've always been. So, but
there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we talk these things out, right?
No.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, though. It's like we have different circumstances of growing up watching things, I grew up watching stuff in the 90s. You grew up watching stuff in the 70s or, in the 80s. Yeah. So you have, by your age, you've set such a high standard of stuff. And you're seeing the decline of stuff that you used to think was peak. And then now everything else is going below that. And I agree. Once you watch Miami Vice, nothing else really matters.
Well, and I'll close with this. I am planning on just reviewing a show called Pluverus, which is the Breaking Bad guy, Vince Gilligan or whatever his name is. It's Better Call Saul, I think it is. And that is probably the best TV show that I've enjoyed and seen since at least Hannibal, going 10, 15 years ago, if not longer. It's that good, that smart, and I'll have a lot more to say about that later. So I know it can be done because, like you had mentioned before, when one person can do the show and it's their vision, it just feels better. And I don't know, again, I don't know if that's what's going on here in Fallout, but that's what's going on in Pluverus, and I can't wait to talk about that.
So I think
that's
right now
it should be.
The only show that actually right now that's been doing that is Landman. Has Tyler Sheridan's writing it, and you have one director, Stephen Kay, is directing it.
Well, that's where you brought that concept up, and I thank you for it because I think that's very observant.
A lot of shows have different writers, different directors. They have a whole room of writers. Sometimes it's better just to have one writer, and that's what makes manga so great because you only have one writer writing the whole entire story. You don't have another person coming in and say, you know what? I don't like what this person did. Kind of like what J.J. Abrams did to the new Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had apparently, I think it was either Abrams or someone else, but they set up in the whole thing with Rey in the first episode, the Force Awakens, and then all of a sudden the next movie kills that whole plot off because I don't like that, so I'm going to change it, and that's one of the reasons I don't like when you have multiple writers who aren't on the same page, you know, and I feel like a lot of these writers. Probably they're not as good writers as some of the other ones. Sometimes you have the top tier writer, but they'd rather bring in 9 other writers who shitty writers come in and write something, which the other guy could have done in his sleep, you know, and you know, made a little more finesse, more touches.
Well, when it comes down to it, like, I know in the Geeky Puppet Show when you guys review comics and your top lists and all that stuff, you guys always mention this artist or this writer or whatever combination. And everybody I know in comics goes and they reference that so people have an idea. Nobody ever says, "Hey, remember that show that had 6 writers on it called Fallout? Yeah, that was really great."
Imagine if Stephen King was writing a book and then someone else decided to come in and is like, you know what, I'm going to write this chapter myself, and then the tone is totally different.
Hey, let's make Pennywise good.
Yeah, Pennywise wasn't a bad guy. He was misunderstood. He just wanted a balloon. But when he was a kid, but his daddy said, "I am buying you that little shit." So there's, you know, his dad's alcoholic, and that's what it was.
Daddy
so, like I said, that's the problem I have with these TV shows, especially today. Now, back then, sure, they probably had different writers and different directors for some of the episodes, but nowadays, it seems like they just get these new writers and these new directors, and the directors are not told, "Hey, this is what the show is." Well, why did I see a different vision? Fuck, you're out of here. No,
exactly.
Yeah, and then it gets a little bit confusing. I guarantee the person who's directing, probably doing the flashbacks, is not the same person who's directing doing the present stuff. I guarantee
they do have like a second group, so they'll film a parallel. That's parallel tasking, right? So like if I'm the B level director, I could be doing, say, the interior shots of Fallout while the exterior shots are being filmed by the main guy, let's say, because that's more important to him. Absolutely, that happens.
Yeah. So honestly, this was a weak episode. Not really much to pop for, unless I say the physical stuff. Like, I do love the steel suit that he wears, you know, the power suit. I love that. The whack-a-mole game in the restaurant that the daughter was playing. And then, like I said, like the guy who basically robbed her house in the beginning, he has the thing in the back of the guy's neck, she shoves it in there, and it controls him. And he's like, and then, of course, whenever you see the Pit Boy, you know, and he's got a different one than his daughter. His daughter has a different one. Well, at least actually it might be the same. It's hard to tell. But what's probably the best thing I pop for is the head poppers. And then also when he shoots a grenade at the guy's leg and causes him his leg explode off in the very beginning of the first shootout with Walter Goggins' character and all the bad guys and different things. He drops a grenade in the guy's pants, shove the other guy, and they explode inside the pool.
Yeah. All I'll say is $15 to $20 million per episode. That's the shit they're spending on it, and quality-wise, what you're getting. Because at the end of the day,
it's a CG background.
Down to it. Yeah,
that's all it is. But I don't know. just
we'll find out next week when we do episode 2.
Yeah. Like I said, I want to, because obviously Walter Goggins' character here is seeing his transformation. From him, the flashbacks being, I really don't want to get involved. Now he's like, fuck it. He's all invested. Because once he realized, it's his fault. He's trying to atone for his sins. That's what I liked about his character, and that's why he steals the show. I do love Lucy. Lucy is, even though she drives me nuts a little bit, but I see that she said here. She says, "I believe there's a morality. I lead by example." And she's like, I can still see that you have some justice inside you too. It's you just bury it. So he said we got the main characters in here that I like are Hank Jr., who he basically was from little on was the nobody. He wasn't good at anything. He was always jealous of his sister. It's actually really just been a character growth for him, being the rebel. Hank Sr. being the bad guy. I like Lucy, and I like Walter Goggins' character. Those are the 4 I care about. Anyone else can just get out of here. We're done.
Well, let's include Dogmeat.
Well, I need Dogmeat to start growing, biting people in the groin.
When you play the games, though, Dogmeat and gets to be a character that like is on your side, and so you know how like you can get perks and levels and abilities and stuff like that. Dogmeat can get some limited ones where like he can run off and like fetch something and just bring it back to you, sniff out things. When he gets hurt in combat, he just kind of wanders off, so he doesn't ever really die, but he can't come back till the battle's over. He's a German Shepherd, I believe, not a Belgian, if I'm correct on that. Someone in the audience probably will yell at me and fuck you, because it should be a German, not a Belgian. But it's like, don't make a dog a bitch, make him a legitimate companion, is what I'm saying.
I am curious.
Do some goofy stuff and some lighthearted stuff, maybe with her when they're walking around, like killing the rad roach and all that. That's cute. But if you're gonna do something with them, you got a $20 million budget, do it. Everybody would love it. It makes the show that much easier, because you're hitting a soft spot with everybody when you include dogs.
I am curious though, as far as Fallout, because it's always all about America bombing themselves, or at least you're led to believe that. I'm curious other parts of the world, how they're affected, that they have their own vaults.
Well, the games, one of them takes place in Boston, one is in Vegas, and then there's the other one. So it's kind of like Boston, they do like a lot of the major things and all that. Yes, there are other vaults. So the vault number is 33. What number do they stop at? I really don't know.
I want to go to the giant penny tower. What was in Vegas?
Oh, if they do not use all the Vegas stuff that's in the game, I'm telling you, the people are going to come out with pitchforks, because people love New Vegas.
Oh yeah, the first season got ripped to shreds because people didn't like what they did. So we'll see how this goes. But I said, for the very first episode on this, my final thoughts is that it was very weak sauce. It's just kind of a recap. Hey, remember we're a show? Oh yeah, cool. All right, next. Yeah, that's pretty much. It got an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, but
I can't trust any of that stuff.
It's a 6 to me.
Right? Yeah. Probably a 5 for me.
The story is weak, but everything else, I love the scenery. I even said the CGI. I love it. It looks cool in here. And then there's no shortage of people who are skeletons in this series. People have died, and you see like they're just in their suit stuff. So I always love that stuff, kind of the jump scare stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens next week in episode 2. It'll be fun to talk about that.
Bring on the mutant bugs.
Good night, everybody.
Giant bugs, and I want the giant. What are those called? They're like Ragnaroks.
Rad roaches, the little ones.
No, the giant ones, the horns.
Oh, there's a bunch of different mutants.
There was a main villain. That was the one we saw in the end
of the
last.
Yeah, what you're thinking.
They're the ones. They're the giant, huge ones. The ones that are like supposed to be impossible to beat. The scary ones. I forgot what they're called, but anyway, they're the giant horns, and they're freaking freaky as a. But all right, guys. So leave your comments below what you thought of this episode. Did you agree? Do you think this was a crappy episode, or do you think it was really great? All that matters to me is that you're a sharp dressed man and you're a villain, and then you're the best character in the show. Fuck yeah, Twin Peaks, bro.
That's right.
I need more Twin Peaks characters.
Yeah, it needs a damn fine cup of coffee. All right. Good night now.
Later, guys.